Hello, and welcome to the FARMOR instructional manufacturing video. Today we're going to outline the process required and the techniques used to create the knee pads designed by the FARMOR team. Let's get started. The first step to creating our rubber knee pads is to open the buckets of rubber. To do this, we need to cut along the tabs as noted on the bucket lids. This can be difficult at times because the rubber isn't easy to cut through, so be sure you have a sharp tool and you always cut safely. Once all the tabs have been cut, we have to remove the lid by bending the tabs up and breaking the seal along the lip of the bucket. Do this carefully so as not to hurt your fingers. Be sure to work all the way around the bucket. At this stage in the process, it's important to pick one spatula to keep with each type of rubber. This is because premature mixing of the rubbers by using the same spatula in both can ruin the batch of rubber. Now that the buckets are open, it's time to mix the material inside so that we have an even distribution of all the ingredients in the rubber. Be sure to take a few minutes to do this and stir thoroughly. Scrape the sides and bottom of the bucket to ensure complete mixing. Repeat the process for both buckets and remember to keep the spatulas separate. Now it's time to combine both components of the rubber into one. Let's start by pouring rubber A into a larger bucket. This bucket needs to be at least 2 gallons large. Be sure to scrape down the sides and bottom of the bucket to get as much of the material out as possible. Don't try to get every last drop, but we do recommend to waste as little rubber as possible. When we go to add part B to part A, start a timer for 20 minutes. This is because once the two components mix, a chemical reaction is taking place inside the rubber and causing it to set. This will happen slowly, and you have about half an hour before you have to have your hands out of the rubber. This is called the rubber's pot life. To ensure complete mixing of the rubber at this point, you should be sure to take an entire 5 minutes or so to mix in the rubber completely. This is essential to having a full set patch of rubber and good strong knee pads. Next, you'll lay out the mold boxes and pour your mixed rubber into them. To do this, think of it like filling an ice tray. You'll want to split the volume of the bucket evenly between the two trays, and you'll want to move across the tray to fill each of the smaller cavities to shape the knee pads. If you don't pour perfectly evenly into each container, that's okay. Remember, we have half an hour from when they combine before we have to have our hands off, so you can take some time to move rubber back and forth like we did. Once the rubber is poured, it's important to leave it in a room temperature environment for 4 to 6 hours for a full cure. Be sure to leave it on a level surface and make sure that it's in an area where things can't fall into the top of it. Small impurities can later affect the binding properties of the rubber. Removing the rubber from the trays is easy. Once it's fully cured, all you have to do is pull up at the corners of the pads and pull the entire sheet of rubber out. If it breaks away inside the mold, don't worry. We were going to cut those apart anyway at some point. Cleaning up after all the silicone rubber mixing can be quite difficult. Once you have your rubber knee pads out as a sheet, it's important to cut them apart so that we can apply them to the individual knee pads. The application process is also simple. Apply some raw silicone caulking to the back side or smooth side of the knee pad and guide it gently into place over the knee. You can see the outline of where the caulking is binding to the pants through the actual pants. It is important to work out any bubbles between the pants and the knee pad to ensure a complete bond. We suggest rubbing it through quite a few times. The silicone caulking takes at least 24 hours to reach a full cure. The team has noticed that after multiple days and even months, this caulking can actually form a more permanent bond between the knee pad and the pants used.